My name is Jessica, though most of the corporate world knows me as Jessie. Officially, I'm the Chief Innovation Officer at Global Pay Innovations, a fintech company based in Florence, Alabama. What my family didn't know is that since the spring, I've quietly become the majority shareholder of Global Pay, using a multi-layered investment structure that I began building in my early 20s. It all started 16 years ago. I was a first-generation college student, coding late into the night in a cramped NYU dorm room while simultaneously pursuing degrees in environmental science and computer engineering. Meanwhile, my older sister, Madison, had dropped out of business school and was bouncing from one network marketing scheme to the next. "She's just trying to find her way," my dad would say. "You've always been the steady one." Stable didn't mean having support. I worked as a waitress while I studied tirelessly. Madison traveled to different countries to clear her mind, but I stayed quiet, focused. I knew where I was going. At 32, I had launched and sold 3 green tech startups, each under a separate LLC. I stayed under the radar, filtered my earnings through trust funds, and built Global Pay in the shadows. Why all the secrecy? Because my family never believed in me, only in appearances. They called my work cute and bragged about Madison's new job selling sophisticated solutions that she barely understood. So I let them think I was struggling, that I needed them. Let's just say that illusion didn't last long. Meanwhile, I was executing my masterstroke. A stealth acquisition of Global Pay Innovations, the company where I had been quietly working for just over 14 months. The company was undervalued but loaded with untapped potential. Through a careful web of holding companies, blind trusts, and offshore entities, I had gained a controlling stake without a single name calling my name. So when the board promoted me to Chief Innovation Officer, they thought they were appointing a brilliant but obedient strategist. They had no idea they were handing the title to its new owner. Madison's reaction? Oh, it was delightful. "Wow. It must be nice to have a stroke of luck like that," she quipped over Sunday dinner. "Just don't let it go to your head. Running a company isn't like building little apps in your apartment." Dad gave a forced smile. Mom, ever attentive, added, "Maybe Madison can give you some pointers. She's led sales teams at 3 companies." I nodded, sipping my tea. "I'll definitely consider it," I said with a smile. What they didn't know was that the acquisition agreement was already stored in my encrypted safe at home. But Madison couldn't stand being overshadowed. She'd spent years being the center of attention, charismatic, confident, the one with the real job. I was the quiet one, with too many degrees and too little visibility. At first, she'd only show up at Global Pay for lunch with department heads, disguising her visits as sisterly support. I'd watch from my office as she laughed with upper management, casually suggesting that I was under a lot of pressure and still learning the ropes. Then came the anonymous reports. HR flagged complaints questioning my qualifications, alleging fake credentials, and mysteriously missing academic records. It was all fiction, easily dismissed. But the intent was loud and clear. "I'm just thinking about you," Madison purred when I confronted her. "You know how it is. These companies love to promote women fast, quotas and all." She leaned in as if sharing a secret. "I'd hate to see you fall apart in front of everyone." I let her go on, curious to see where she would go. That answer came yesterday, personally delivered to the board. A sleek, damning folder filled with fabricated evidence, bank records, emails, fake schedules, allegations of embezzlement and insider trading. They called an emergency board meeting for Monday. Madison must have heard something from her sales team, I thought. Apparently, at dinner last night, she was practically beaming. "The board wants me to be there tomorrow," she said, barely containing her glee. "Looks like there's going to be a big change at the top." Mom clapped her hands. Dad raised a glass. Neither of them asked why I hadn't been invited to this mysterious meeting about my own employment. But what they didn't know was that I'd spent the entire night putting together my own dossier, documenting every manipulation, every smear campaign, every fabricated detail that Madison had tried to use against me. And this time, I was also including something even more powerful, the complete and utter disregard for Global Pay Innovations ownership. Tomorrow, they would find out who really runs the company. If you think Madison is going to get away with it, hit that subscribe button, because what happens next changes everything. I should have felt betrayed, hurt, maybe even heartbroken, knowing that my own sister had tried to destroy my career. And my parents, as usual, couldn't see past her charm. But honestly, sitting in my office, surrounded by color-coded evidence, fake transactions, doctored screenshots, and whispered rumors from HR, I knew this moment had been years in the making. Madison's little coup attempt didn't break me. It gave me the stage. I had never been offered such a rare and perfect opportunity to expose their lies and rewrite the narrative that had haunted me my entire life. The board meeting was scheduled for 9 a.m. sharp. They thought I would be the one on trial, but they forgot one thing. I was the one making the rules. I arrived at Global Pay at 7:30 a.m., coffee in hand, watching the proceedings unfold. At 8:30 a.m., Madison walked into the lobby in her most impressive suit, flanked by her parents, beaming as if it were a coronation. "Is the board ready for us?" she asked the receptionist, beaming with victory. From my office on the second floor, I watched the three of them being led to the executive wing. The directors followed with serious faces, exactly as instructed. Each of them had received my message at midnight. At exactly 9 a.m., I got up, straightened my blazer, and walked out into the hallway. I remembered all the times I had been underestimated, manipulated, and forced to keep quiet to avoid misunderstandings. But there is a time for everything. Enough. The moment had come. Time to get started. Consuelo Diaz, our board chair, was mid-sentence when I walked in the door. "These allegations against Ms. Allen are extremely serious." "Sorry I'm late," she said cheerfully, sliding into my chair at the head of the table. Madison's head snapped around, confusion cutting through her smug expression like static. "Ava, this is a closed session," she hissed. "You weren't invited." I clasped my hands together and smiled. "Actually, I invited myself. You see, it's kind of hard to run a board meeting without the owner of the company, don't you think?" The silence was startling. Madison's face drained of color. Mom blinked rapidly, as if she'd misheard. Dad froze, his jaw clenched as if trying to stifle a laugh that never came. "What are you talking about?" Madison spat. "Global Pay is shareholder-owned." "It did," I corrected, turning to my assistant Mia, who stepped forward with a sleek leather portfolio in hand. "Global Pay Innovations was publicly traded," I continued, "until 2 months ago, when it was quietly acquired by Ascendant Groups. Anyone care to guess who owns it?" The sound of pages turning echoed through the room. The director's eyes widened as the documents came into their hands. Some had whispered about the acquisition, wondered who was behind the quiet trust with enough capital to take the company private. Now they knew. "This is a joke," Madison stammered. "You couldn't have done that. You're just a programmer. Just the quiet one." "Yeah, I've heard it all before," she said with a practiced smile. "And you've said it enough times." I turned to Mia. "Would you mind?" She tapped her tablet. The room filled with Madison's voice, calm and sharp, in a series of audio clips. "She's not cut out for real leadership," Madison whispered in one. "She's smart, but she crumbles under pressure. The board will see that soon enough." Another recording crackled to life. "Honestly, she's only in that position because of diversity quotas. Let's be real." The temperature in the room dropped. No one moved. And just like that, the narrative began to unravel. For her, not for me. "Have you noticed any irregularities in her department's finances? Maybe it's worth a closer look." Every whisper, every strategic manipulation, every doubt planted, now playing in surround sound like a perfectly orchestrated downfall. Except not mine. Madison slumped visibly in her chair, her confident posture crumbling as the recordings echoed through the conference room. Her once smug face had gone pale. The directors stood still, their expressions unreadable. "And there's more," I said, holding up a thick envelope, the same one she'd anonymously sent to the board. Inside, falsified spreadsheets, forged emails, a fabricated case built on desperation, attempted defamation of character, fabricated misconduct, intentional sabotage of executive leadership, I stated firmly. "Did you really think no one would fact-check a single allegation before taking action?" I was protecting the company," Madison stammered, her voice cracking. "You're not qualified. You've always been the quiet one, the background character. You're not the one who deserves to win." "No, Madison," I finished softly. I'm the one who earned the right to lead. And now, I'm the one exposing you for manipulating internal perceptions, compromising the integrity of the board, and risking the future of this company. Mom finally spoke, her voice brittle. Surely you're not going to destroy your own sister's life over this. As if she didn't try to destroy mine? I snapped, turning to face her. As if you didn't show up here expecting to see me fall. Dad raised his hand halfway. We just came to support Madison. No, I said, locking eyes with him. You're doing what you've always done, betting on the wrong daughter. I turned to the board, straight and confident. I apologize for the dramatic nature of this meeting, I said, letting calm control my voice. But I needed everyone to fully understand what's at stake. Ms. Madison violated ethical and legal boundaries in her effort to remove me from my position. I paused, letting the words settle. She didn't just come after me. She put the reputation and regulatory status of this company at risk. Consuelo Diaz cleared her throat. Ms. Allen, what would you like the board to do? I sat back down, clasping my hands together carefully. First, I request that the board formally dismiss all allegations against me, based on verified evidence and internal review. Second, I propose immediate disciplinary action against Ms. Allen for misconduct. I also request that a formal letter be sent to Madison's employer. I stated firmly, detailing her misconduct, complete with audio files, fabricated evidence, and her attempts at corporate sabotage. Her actions were to follow her professionally. You, Madison gasped, her voice weak and shaky. Are you going to destroy my career? Like you tried to destroy mine? I asked, my voice calm but razor sharp. The difference is I have proof, real documents, real recordings. You had fabricated spreadsheets and hope. I turned to the board. Finally, I request that Madison Allen and our parents be permanently banned from Global Pay Innovations property. Any contact with the team or interference with the company's operations will result in immediate legal escalation. Jessica, please. Mom cried, mascara running down her face. We're family. I gave a low, bitter laugh. Family celebrates your victories. Family lifts you up when you're down. Family doesn't try to erase your life's work out of envy. I slid a final folder across the polished conference table. This, I said, is the acquisition agreement for my first fintech startup. I sold it for $30 million when I was 27. My second for $150 million 2 years later. I looked at Dad. I could have bought you that country club membership you always wanted. I could have paid for all those fancy vacations you gave Madison like they were gold medals. But I didn't. They stared at the pages in astonishment, watching the numbers crumble every story they'd told themselves about who I was. I kept quiet, I said, because I wanted to see who would stand by me when they thought I had nothing. I looked at Madison. You all failed. She looked pale. You're ruining my career, she whispered. No, I said. You ruined it the moment you tried to sabotage mine. The only difference is that you actually did the things you're being accused of. I grabbed my folders and stood up. This meeting is officially over, I said, nodding to Duarte. Please make sure the minutes are kept safe. Then I turned to them. Madison, Mom, Dad, security will escort you out. Wait. Madison called, her voice breaking as I reached for the door. Please. I was jealous. I couldn't stand that you were finally winning. Her voice shook. We can fix this, can't we? We're still family. I turned one last time. Do you know the difference between us, Madison? She looked up, her eyes watering, the last vestiges of pride melting away. When you thought I was struggling, you pushed me down even further. When I was thriving, I kept quiet just so you wouldn't feel small. I exhaled. That's the difference between real success and the game you've been playing. The weeks that followed were eye-opening. Madison was quickly fired. Her employer wasted no time in reviewing the audio clips and documented evidence. Word of my ownership in Global Pay Innovations spread beyond our boardroom, and suddenly the same social circles that had once revered my sister were whispering my name. My parents left tearful voicemails. Madison sent handwritten letters. Even her therapist emailed me to assure me that she was taking responsibility. I filed it all away. 3 months later, I was wrapping up a late-night strategy session when Mia announced over the intercom, "Someone's here, they say it's personal." It was Madison, but not the polished, camera-ready Madison I'd always known. She looked smaller, haggard, her designer wardrobe replaced by a simple blouse and jeans. No flashy jewelry, no performative confidence. "I'm not staying," she said, holding up a hand. "I just needed to say something." She walked over and placed an envelope on my desk. "This has everything. Old passwords, contacts, everything I used while trying to sabotage you. I'm also sending statements to the board and my old company. No beating around the bush, no apologies." I fell silent. "Why now?" I finally asked. "Because you were right," she said softly. "I wasn't building anything. You were, and I hated you for it." She turned to leave, pausing at the door. "I'm starting over. New startup, entry level. No fake titles this time. I don't expect anything from you. But letting me fall, that taught me more than all the years Mom and Dad spent raising me." She reached for the doorknob. "Madison," I said gently. She turned for a moment, a spark of hope shining in her eyes. "Send me your resume in a year," I said softly. "Not for leadership," I added, "but if you're serious about earning your place the right way, we're always looking for people willing to start from scratch." A single tear ran down Madison's cheek. She nodded. No apologies, no defenses, just a silent acknowledgement. Then she turned and left without another word. 6 months later, Global Pay Innovations has surpassed even my wildest projections. We're developing next-generation financial solutions, expanding into 3 new states, and creating sustainable jobs across the Southwest. It's real. It's lasting. It's mine. Mom and Dad still text occasionally. Usually when they want something, or when they're mentioning their visionary daughter at social events they once expected me to stay out of. I remain civil, but at a distance. The validation I once craved, I've outgrown. The corner office they said I'd never earn overlooks the Austin skyline. Some nights, I sit by the window as the sun sets behind the hills, thinking about family, ambition, and the unexpected gift of being underappreciated. Last week, I received a holiday card. No please, no blame, just a quiet note from Madison. "You didn't succeed because of us, but in spite of us." I'm finally learning how to build for real. Maybe that's the real revenge. Not loud, not cruel, but conquered, undeniable. Thank you for listening, for seeing me when those closest to me couldn't. Jessica surprised her family by showing that she was capable of much more than they said. Have you ever felt like Jessica? What would you do in her place? Tell me in the comments. If you liked this story, please like and share this video and subscribe to the channel for more inspiring stories.